Hi there, Mr. Holcomb here with another episode of The Math Behind the Modules. This is Lesson 10, Simple Interest. Okay, I love it when my money works for me. Classwork. To find the simple interest, use the following formula. Interest equals principal. Principal is a value you start with, times the interest rate, R, times time, T. So interest equals principal times rate times time, or PERT. R is the percent of the principal that is paid over a period of time, usually per year. T is the time, and R and T must be compatible. For example, if R is an annual interest rate, then T must be written in years. If R is a monthly interest rate, then T must be written in months, and so on and so on. Example 1. Can money grow? Look at simple interest. Larry invests $100 in a savings plan. The plan pays 4.5% interest each year on his $100 account balance. How much money will Larry earn in interest after 3 years, after 5 years? So we have I, P, R, and T. Write this every time. And what we are trying to solve for here is I. So that's what we want to know. P is principal. That's what we started with. P is 100. R is the interest rate, 4.5%. Okay, let's write that as a decimal. Percent, 4.5% is 4.5%. And when you convert a percent into a decimal, you move the decimal 2 places to the left, so it's 0.045. So this will be 0.045. And the time, how much money will Larry earn in interest after 3 years? And then for part 2, T will be 5. So we always write the formula first. I equals PRT. Substitute in the givens. We don't know I. P is 100. R is 0.045. And T is 3. So when I multiply all of this together, multiplying this times 100 moves the decimal 2 places to the right. So that'd be 4.5 times 3. So the I equals 5 times 3 is 15, carry the 1. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13 with a decimal place. That means the interest earned in 3 years will be $13.50 after 3 years. Okay, now after 5 years, all we have to do is take this part of the equation and change the 3 to 5. So it'd be the same as saying I equals P R T. I equals the same initial $100 times the rate 0.045, and now we're going to multiply by the years 5 times. So the interest is going to be equal to, move the decimal 2 places, 4.5 times 5. So the interest after 5 years would be 5 times 5 is 25, carry the 2, 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2 is $22.50. Part B says, how can you find the balance of Larry's account at the end of 5 years? Well, the balance of his account would be his initial. The balance would be the initial amount plus the interest he earned. Can't use I again though. So X maybe, where, well, that's I. That's I. Initial. So what can we call, oh, excuse me, it's P, principal, plus interest. So how much did he make after a year? The principal plus the interest So the balance would be $122.50. Okay. There is another way we can do that, and I'll show you if they ask again. Okay, exercise 1 says find the balance of a savings account at the end of 10 years if the interest earned each year is 7.5%. Wow, that's good interest rate. The principal's 500. So remember, we want to write what I equals, what P equals, what R equals, and what T equals. So the I is what we're trying to figure out here, so I'll put a question mark. Principal, the starting amount, the principal is $500. The interest rate is 7.5%, which is 0.075, and the time is 10 years. So I equals PRT. Substitute the givens. Okay. And so I equals, so I'm going to multiply 5 times 5 and get 25 and carry the 2. 7 times 5 is 35 plus 2 is 37, and there are 2 zeros, so I'd move it over 2 decimal places. So it'd be like multiplying 7.5 times 5, which would be 3750, and then I multiply that by 10. So 500 times 0.075 is 3750. So now I equals, multiply this by 10, and it moves the decimal 1 place to the right. So the interest earned after 10 years would be $375 on a $500 principal. Okay, so what if the question asked, how much would he have at the end of the... What I could do, instead of adding the principal to the interest, is change this to a 1.075. And the reason we can do that is because anything times 1 is itself, so that's 100% of what we started with, and this is the addition onto it. So if we just simply multiply by 1 point, whatever the interest rate is, we get what we're going to have as our principal plus our interest, which equals our balance at the end. So if they ask what the balance is at the end of the year, we can take the principal plus the interest and get $875. But if I just did that here, I'll just show you that one more time. If we had the I equals PRT and I say I, or let's call it the B, ending balance, B would equal the principal plus this, the principal plus our interest rate. So in other words, what I can do here is say, well, the principal was $500. And if I don't multiply by 0.075, but I multiply by 1.075 times 10, then I get this times this is, well, let's see. Let's make it quick. Hey Siri, what's 500 times 1.075?
500 times 1.075 is 537.5.
Okay, times 10. Well, I guess that doesn't work, so disregard that. All right, I was just messing around here trying to see something. I'm missing something, but we'll lead up to that if I get to it again. Anyhow, if we just do I equals PRT and don't change this 1 to a 1, I guess we'd have to multiply by 10 first and then multiply 1.075. Multiply this by 10. Okay. Example 2, time other than 1 year. A $1,000 savings bond earns simple interest at a rate of 3% each year. The interest is paid at the end of every month. How much interest will the bond have earned after 3 months? Okay, so we're in the same amount, okay, but it's 3% each year. Okay, so we have to be careful there. This is interest rate per year. This is how many months. So we'll have to convert this 3 months into years. So $1,000 savings bond, we have I equaling something, P, R, and T. List everything that we know. Principal amount is $1,000. The interest rate is 0.03, that's 3%. Time is 3 months, but if our interest is in years, then our time has to be in years. So there are 12 months in a year, so 3 months is a quarter of a year, or 0.25. I will use a fraction. Okay, 3 months is a quarter of a year. And we want it in years because our rate is in years. And we want to know what I is. So I equals P R T. I equals 1,000 times our rate, 0.03, times our time, or divided by 4, times a quarter. So I equals 1,000 times 0.03 moves the decimal 3 places to the right. 1, 2, so that'd be 30 times a quarter. So I equals 4 goes into 30 7 times with a remainder of 2, 7.5. So the interest is $7.50 after 3 months on $1,000. Example 3 says solving for P, R, or T. Mrs. Williams wants to know how long it will take an investment of $450 to earn $200 in interest if the yearly interest rate is 6.5%, paid at the end of each year. So this is where it's really important to write what we're given on the side and get comfortable with the variables we use. So we write the formula I equals PRT, substitute in the given. I is interest, and she wants to earn $200 in interest, so there's our I. Rate is 6.5%, which is 0.065. That's rate. She wants to know how long it will take an investment of $450. That's our principal. She wants to know how long it will take. Time is what we're trying to solve for here. Substitute in our givens. I is 200. P is 450. R is 0.065. And we don't know what T is. Okay, I can divide by 450. These cancel, and I get 0.065 T equals 20 divided by 45. 5 will go into 24 times, and 5 will go into 45 9 times. So that reduces to 4 over 9. But I want a decimal. So 4 divided by 9. 9 goes into 4, 0 times. 9 times 5. 9 times 4 is 36. So it's 0.4 repeating. So maybe I do want 4 9ths. Okay. 0.065 as a fraction is 65 over 1,000. 5 goes into 65. Okay, this is how you convert a decimal to fractions. That is 65 1,000ths. So 65 over 1,000. 5 goes into 65 13 times. 5 goes into 1,000 200 times. So I can rewrite this as 4 over 9 equals 13 over 200t, and then multiply both sides by 13 over 200, or I'm sorry, 200 over 13. Multiply by the reciprocal to get rid of that number. 200 over 13 on both sides. And this 200 cancels that, 13 cancels that, and I'm left with t. Okay, so if I just multiply across, that'd be 800 divided by 9 times 13. 9 times 3 is 27. That's 117. So therefore, my t is going to equal 7 point something. Hey Siri, what's 800 divided by 117?
800 divided by 117 is about 6.8376.
Okay. Okay. So it says, Miss Williams wants to know how long it will take an investment of $450 to earn $200 annually, paid each year. So 6 years is not enough. 6.8 years. So it will take 7 years. Exercise 2 says to write an equation to find the amount of simple interest A earned on a $600 investment after a year and a half if the semi-annual 6-month interest rate is 2%. So again, what is I? What is P? What is R? And what is T? I equals PRT. Write an equation, find the amount of simple interest A. Okay, so now they're calling simple interest A, not I. Okay, so they told us to use A, we have to use A. We just gotta. A equals PRT. All right. So it says find the amount of simple interest A, so we don't know that. Earned on a $600 investment, that's my principal, at a rate of 2%, which is 0.02, after a year and a half, but these are 6 months rates, so that's 1.5 years and 6 months. 1.5 years is a year and 6 months, so time equals how many 6-month intervals. Okay, 6 months plus 6 months is a year, plus 6 months is 1.5 years, right? There's 12 months in a year, so that's 1 year right there. And then it's another 6 months is a half a year. So we want to know how many 6-month intervals are in a year and a half, and it's 3. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you. We want to know how many intervals of this length of time are in a year and a half, and there's 3. In other words, this is going to be compounded, the interest is going to be compounded 3 times in a year and a half. All right, so now we finish. A equals P times R times T. So A equals 6 times 2 is 12. 100 moves a decimal 2 places to the right. So it's 12 times 3, or 36. So the amount of interest earned after a year and a half at 2% on $600 is $36. Exercise 3. A $1,500 loan has an annual interest rate of 4.25% on the amount borrowed. How much time has elapsed if the interest is now $127.50? So we want to write I equals P equals R equals and T equals. For the equation, I equals PRT. Okay, so a loan has an annual, a $1,500 loan has an interest rate on the amount borrowed. So that is going to be our principal amount, $1,500, at a rate that we do not know. No, we do 4.14, 4.25. So that's 4.25. And for percent, you move the decimal 2 places to the right, so it'll be 0.0425. Annual interest rate. How much time has elapsed? We don't know. We know the interest is $127.50. So in this problem, we are trying to solve for time. So we substitute in our givens. 127.50 equals 1,500 times 0.0425 times t. Okay. I'm pausing here because I'm trying to figure out an easy way to, I guess it'd be easier to do this. 127.50 equals, hey Siri, what's 1,500 times 0.0425?
1,500 times 0.0425 is 63.75.
So this times this is 63.75 times t. So if I divide both sides by 63.75, these cancel, and I find out how much time that will be. And 63 and 63 is 126, and that would be another $1.50, so it is equal to 2. And it is 2 what? T equals 2 years. Okay, that is the end of lesson 10. Review the lesson summary, memorize the equation and all the variables, and go to your problem set.